Coming to you live from the Now Media Newsroom.
I'm Jim Check. You're watching Now Media. With me, Jeanne Herman, licensed insolvency trustee. Third time here with us. And this time,
Good morning, Jim.
This time the headline that we're going to talk about, financial strain drives British Columbians to make difficult trade-offs. And we're seeing the economy starting to take the toll on people, especially here in British Columbia.
That is so true. M&P's done their survey again, and the results are pretty enlightening and maybe not surprising to what's happening to the mindset of the people in BC. 40% of the people in BC are, reducing their takeout, or 2 in 5 are stopping to eat, no longer eating out. And then more than half of the British Columbians are now looking at strategic ways to grocery shop. And a lot of people are cutting back on their consumption of eating and on a lot of their expenses these days.
Yeah, and you also have in here making like nearly 1 in 5 delaying, skipping medical, dental, prescription care. So basically what it's saying is people are looking for ways to cut costs. And when they start looking at, medical, dental, and prescription as a luxury, that's a tough thing, right, for British Columbians.
It is a tough thing. People are really stretched in their budget, and they need to look at where they're going to cut.
Yeah, and we used to do a grocery basket here on Kelowna Now early on, where we used to take it and then buy a basket of groceries, and then compare the big grocers, you know what I mean, like Superstore, Costco versus Save-On and all that stuff. And I would say like Walmart and that Superstore used to win that basket on an ongoing basis, but I think right now it's about shopping smarter, I guess, because there is places where you can go for sales and kind of do well. But it takes some work though, right, to actually shop smarter, eh?
It takes a lot of work to do our shopping in a smarter manner. And if you're hopping from place to place, are you really saving money? Because now you might be expending that on fuel consumption.
Yeah, and then the other thing is like Costco is obviously a great place to shop, but then a lot of people don't have the storage because, when you go to Costco, you're buying, it's usually vaster quantities, but that's when you can look at getting groups of friends and splitting that up too. But again, that takes some work as well.
Yeah, I haven't heard of anybody having a shopping party. That would be interesting to see clubs like that, or if there is clubs like that.
We do it as a family. We do it ourselves as a family. So we shop and then we split it between 3 households, right? So we go and buy, and then we just kind of, and it makes it a lot. I mean, we're now empty nesters, so obviously we still shop at Costco sometimes for the main stuff, and then split it. And then I was talking to my daughter, and I said, the inflation, it's crazy. She said, it doesn't bother me. I said, what are you talking about? She said, well, you pay for all the groceries. Just like,
oh.
I'm just like, what?
So she's not one of the ones that are well, she's one of the ones that are shopping strategically.
She's definitely shopping strategically.
Yeah, but she may not be one of the ones that stretch to the breaking point at this point, because you're able to help her out that way.
Yeah, she would be because she's a single mother. She would be for sure if she didn't have the support network. And sad that a lot of people don't have that support network, right? And they can't rely on somebody to do those things for them.
It's true. They don't have people to rely on. And when we're looking at getting, our day-to-day expenses paid, we're hopefully brought up to be able to manage those. But then the life events that happened, or the costs of everything going up now, just makes that really, really hard. And it's nice to see family support, but as you said, it's not always there. And I run into the people that don't necessarily have the family support. It's there with the heart, but not necessarily with the money, because not everybody's family has the money to support other people in their family.
Yeah, and then I've talked before too, and then a lot of that credit card debt when people were starting to use their credit cards to buy groceries because they just used whatever credit was available, and obviously
Hmm.
that works for a while until you max those credit cards out, and then that just becomes an even worse situation. Now you're paying 28% interest on that credit card as well as trying to meet those monthly obligations, and food inflation continues to rise.
So let's take it into if somebody's maxed out their credit card, they're not able to put those groceries on their credit card anymore. And now they have to pay for the groceries out of their pocket. And they have the minimum payment on the credit card. Can they do it? What happens when they can't?
Yeah, and that's where I guess you come into play, and how many people are at that spot right now? Obviously, you're getting busier and busier.
We're getting busier and busier. And how many people are at that spot? Like, I don't have a percentage of number of people in BC that are at that spot, but it is a vast majority of people from all walks of life that have maxed out their credit cards and realized they're never getting rid of the debt. And the credit card payments combined with their household bills, it's just more than they can bear. They just can't afford it.
And I know of quite a few friends that are, I wouldn't say wealthy, but they've done well. I mean, like in your profession, like people that make a decent amount of money, but now they look at beef as a luxury item. Do you know what I mean? Like it just becomes so expensive to buy a couple of steaks, which would be a normal thing for the weekend barbecue and stuff like that, and it makes. And I know a lot of people have cut back going out. I did a show just recently with a restaurateur who has 3 locations here. He had to close one down because fewer and fewer people are going out, obviously because of costs, and it just becomes this spiral that kind of just eats away at the economy, right?
That's so true. The survey said 40% of, no, actually, no, it said 2 in 5 people are no longer going out to eat. It's not that they're not, it's not that they're no longer thinking about not going, they're not going now.
Yeah, so that's close to 40%, right? That's pretty close to 40%, and and that's a big number because I mean British Columbia has a big service industry, especially Kelowna. When we think about Kelowna, it relies so heavily on that trade, right? Like the restaurant service industry, and again, this kind of fuels this downward spiral that we see. Then if the restaurants have less money, they have to lay off more people, and then those people have less. I mean, it just kind of like when things accelerate, it's a different thing. When we get jobs and then people have more free money and all that kind of stuff, and we see results of that as it goes up. But right now, we're really starting to see the bad end of this spiral.
Yeah, it's like it's going, and like you've said, it's a spiral down, not a spiral up, and we are definitely seeing it. And the sad part is, if we are not able to support our restaurants, we're going to lose them. Like that gentleman you were talking with, that he had to shut one, and hopefully he's able to keep the other two going.
Yeah, he had to choose between one of his 3 children, and it was a famous one too that was featured on the Food Network, and that was Salt and Brick downtown. So I mean, it was like a lot of people had great accolades for it. But again, just in tourism, he lost. He said they lost so much business because of the Airbnb policy, and a lot of times some of these policies that are put in with good intentions for rent and that have these, like when you squeeze the toothpaste, some of the pain goes somewhere else, right? And it just becomes tougher and tougher. One of the bright spots, I guess, in Kelowna, we're starting to see rents come down because we're starting to see more vacancies. But again, a lot of people are locked into longer term rents already.
Yeah, they're locked into longer term rents, but it's one of the things that people are considering is moving to or relocating to get more affordable housing. In the last year, I've had people telling me they don't know if they can stay in Kelowna because of the housing market. And hopefully, with the shift down in rents, that's going to change. That people will be able to find more affordable housing, or the landlord will reduce it because they don't want to lose a good tenant. That would be nice to see possibly as well. And I liked when you mentioned about, the businesses, um, and somebody cutting back in their business. Businesses have to do the same as people. They have to look at their budget. what comes in, what their cash flow is going out, and they have to look at where they're going to cut as well. Otherwise, they're going to have the same trouble that people are. And it's something that I get more and more phone calls of people in business that are struggling and looking for what their solution is. And so it's not just individuals, though our survey is about individuals. It's a whole picture of, if individuals are doing bad, then businesses are going to start doing bad, and they are.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's because everything feeds off of each other. And then when the ecosystem starts to break down, the economic ecosystem, then you start to see this kind of this fraying, and then obviously the weaker people in there, or the less financially viable, end up being in the soup worse. Or, there's obviously some people at the higher end that overspend and that stuff. But you have a stat in here too that is really troubling. Nearly half, 48% of British Columbians say they don't have 6 months of emergency savings that could withstand a disruption. And that is, like losing your job, a medical situation, a family member getting sick. There's so many things that could disrupt your life. And if you don't have, like a little bit of savings or any type of cushions, and we're starting to see that with AI too. AI is adding that whole, and you kind of covered that off too. AI is adding that new dimension in there as well, when we're starting to see large corporations that typically had good paying jobs starting to cut workforce.
Yeah, and I think so those companies needed to cut their workforce because they might not be as profitable or aren't profitable anymore. So they're looking at how can they become more profitable. But people not having savings for that buffer, it's really difficult when they can't save. So there's a difference between the ones that can and have the buffer and something happens, and the ones that never really made enough or were overextended to begin with in credit, that they are so busy trying to pay the credit or the minimum payment, they can't put anything into savings. So there's, when people are, not able to put money into savings, they don't have that buffer. And then when something happens, if they weren't using credit, now they're using it. Or if they've used it and they don't have any savings and something happens, what do? They have nothing.
And then one of the big factors, I don't know if you covered it off in your survey or not, but one of the big factors is mortgage resets right now. A lot of people, Tiff Macklin said this, I think you and I talked about this in the past, when he said a number of years ago that Canadians, rest assured, they can go out and take that mortgage out. Interest rates, the Bank of Canada rate at that time was 0.25. They raised those rates in unprecedented fashion, 19-fold. And then now a lot of these 5-year mortgages, some people had mortgages under 1%, like a 5-year mortgage. Now they're starting to reset, and they're in the 4% range, which is a huge difference when you're talking about $1 million mortgage. These people, you would be typically saying they're kind of like the mid, like the middle income people, and all of a sudden their mortgage payment is $1,200 more, and they're $200 away. I think somebody did a survey. 89% of Canadians are $200 away from meeting their monthly obligations, and all of a sudden you get $1,200 more, and it just makes you unviable.
That's M&P survey. It was in our survey. People are 2 and 5 are within $200 of insolvency, meaning being able to meet their obligations. And the lowering of the interest rates now aren't necessarily going to make that change big. I read an article recently where I think there's a huge majority of mortgages that were coming up for renewal in 2025 and 2026. If I remember the number right, this isn't in our survey, it was about 60% of mortgage holders, but I don't know if that was BC or across Canada. That's a big number of people coming up to renew their mortgage.
There's a lot that's coming.
And so we would have seen a big majority already, because now we're into October of 2025. And are the housing prices coming down? That's not something that I follow, but it could be indicative to people trying to get out of something because they can't afford the payments anymore.
So we just did this story this morning. It's from Holly Nona Blacklock, and this is from a senator here. Federal regulators should let the real estate clear out the people who can't afford what they bought. That's a little heartless. A Liberal Senate appointee said, said that I lived in Alberta in the 80s when the interest rates were 17, 18, 20, and foreclosures were rampant. And in fact, that was a major, major thing. And yet I look at it today and the market has adjusted. It's cyclical. So there is only so much a government intervention before you allow basic economics to take the course and clear out the people who can't afford what they bought. I am apologizing for being heartless on this, but how much can the government intervention do? That sounds pretty heartless to me. But
and the houses that people have, when people come to see me about their debt load, one of the first things out of their mouths are, "I don't want to lose my house. I can't lose my house." It's the most important.
Because where do they go?
Exactly. Where did they go? But it is one of the most important things for most people is the roof over their head. And when they've bought it, they feel that ownership and they really, really don't want to give it up. Sometimes it is for the best for them to give it up so that they can get a fresh start financially. It doesn't happen with everybody. Some people can manage to eke out enough money to manage to keep the houses, or their budget's there for it, but not everybody.
Yeah, I think I'll just list last quote here. High household debt, inflation, higher interest rates have led to real estate secured lending risks, and that's from the Superintendent Routledge. Many borrowers are already facing higher regular mortgage payments. Others will face payment shock at renewal or sooner. And they're talking about there may be even bank failures with some of these smaller companies. But again, it's a spiral, right? Like, I mean, this as an economy spirals down, it's a lot of people get dragged with it, right?
A lot of people do get dragged with it. It's out of their control, that's for sure.
I did an interview just recently with a financial economist, and we did it on the economic winter that Canada's entering. He does this long wave theory or whatever, and he said Canada's kind of entering an economic winter, and then how do you get ready for winter, like buy a coat and stuff like that. But I guess my question to you is there's stuff they can do. They can come if they feel like they're completely underwater, and it's a little bit of psychology in there too, right? Because a lot of people don't like to admit that they need help. So they can come to you at first and obviously see if there's a path forward for them. I think that might be a good step, right?
It is a good step. So talking to a licensed insolvency trustee such as M&P, we go over the options as to here's your circumstances and here's the options that are available to you. And, I'll have people phone me and want to know over the phone without really giving me any concrete or solid information. What can I do? What's it going to cost? And I'm going to go, no, it's a bigger picture than that. Let's book an appointment and sit down and look at what's going on with your finances and discuss your options. And we do the consultation for free. It's a free consultation. If they walk away, they don't need help from us, then they're just a little bit more informed than they were before they came in. And if they do need help, then we talk about what those next steps will be. M&P offers help on their website. There's a debt scale tool. People can go and utilize that tool to see whether they're financially healthy or not. And then there's also another tool where you can put in what your finances are, and it will kind of come up with what your options might be for you to deal with your debts. Could you do it on your own, or would it look like a proposal or a bankruptcy? Somebody can avoid bankruptcy. That's what we're looking for them to do, but sometimes that is the only resort.
And then there's certain debts you can get rid of in bankruptcy, and what are those? I think it's CRA is one of those. What are your...
Nope. CRA is a debt that's included and extinguished through a bankruptcy process. You can't get rid of fines or penalties imposed by the court. Awards for bodily harm, intentionally inflicted sexual assault, child or spousal support payments don't go away. If you have debts that arose from fraud, embezzlement, misappropriation, or defalcation while acting in a fiduciary capacity, those don't go away. Student loans, that's probably one of the big ones because you have to be out of school for 7 years or more to be able to include and extinguish a student loan into an insolvency matter. But yeah, our basic income tax, it's a debt that's included and extinguished into the bankruptcy or proposal process.
Do you think all this easy credit when the economy was doing well is partly to blame? Like you go into Lululemon, and not just picking on Lululemon, but you go in there and they offer you to make payments on a shirt. You know what I mean? You can make 3 payments, and they're not the only ones doing it. I don't want to single them out for that, but
No, I think that the ease of getting credit causes a higher usage of credit than what we would normally see. Credit cards have always been easy to come by. I don't know if they still are as easy, but people would open up a bank account. When they open up a bank account, they were offered a credit card,
um,
and they were encouraged to take it. Why won't you take the credit card? The employees probably, that's an
got
upsell. They're
incentivized, yeah,
probably getting,
got
yeah,
incentives. You go to Walmart, you're checking out, and they say, "Hey, well, you get this credit card," and you're just like, "I got enough." They're just like, "Oh, it's $25 off this purchase if you take this credit card." And then, of course, people take, "Hey, $25," and they take the credit card, and then it's in your wallet. Might as well use it, right?
well, they probably used it for that purchase as well.
Yeah.
They probably got the $25 because they took it and used it right away.
Yeah, yeah, there was that catch, I believe. Yeah, so there's all
Yep.
kinds of easy credit things that people have gotten into.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys offer any kind of like financial literacy as well when people say if they like, do they get any financial? Because I know when I talk to people, I'm a CPA as well. Like that seems to be like what's missing in the schools is financial literacy, and it's not really taught by a lot of family members down either. But I think it's one of those skills that is more needed. I see Florida's now starting to put it in their curriculum. Is that something that you guys offer when they go through insolvency?
So there's a requirement for individuals that file a bankruptcy or proposal to do 2 counseling sessions. Those counseling sessions talk about budgeting, money management, credit usage, reestablishing credit. Why would you want to have a credit rating, and why do you want a good credit rating? I talk about that usually a lot of the times when I sit down with people and have an initial consultation looking at options. We talk about their credit rating. How important is it to them today? To how important might it be to them in the future? So if it's really bad now, and they did a proposal or a bankruptcy, it's going to make it worse. But then what steps can they do to make it better, and why do they need it better? So why do we need a good credit rating? It's so if you want to buy a house or a car, you're going to get the best interest rate.
Have you
And
guys
you're going
done
to
it?
save money.
Yeah, have you guys done any studies yet on what AI is going to do over the next year, 2 years, 3 years? Have you seen anything like that yet?
No, I haven't seen anything like that. I don't know if it's something that we would do specific, or if that would be something that, the regulatory boards for industry will maybe start looking at.
Right. Because I know I've seen lots of studies out there on the internet talking about, some industries obviously getting hurt or hit faster than other industries, and then and I think one of the things is like one of the common themes. It's not AI coming for your job; it's the person that knows AI that's coming for your job, and like learning to use those tools as well, right? So, making yourself more valuable. And I think this time one of my things is if you think of every day as training day, you may be in a bad spot. You got cut or whatever you want to look at it and say today's training day. So how do I make my skills better so that I can be valuable to the organization that I want to work for? And I think that's how you get more money too. You can go to you show that you can provide more value, and obviously you get more value then.
I agree with you, is having the skills for the jobs that you're looking for is important, and those skills are changing with the AI. And I'm thinking that, do they have courses out there in the college online? Like, how do you find out what you need to know, and where do you study it?
I mean,
And
we
how
offer
how
some,
do you
not to unplug ourselves, but we do. But YouTube is full of it as well, right? So, and that is one of the things, like education is being democratized as well. So there is a wealth of information out there. It is your willingness to learn. I think that is the most important thing. And also finding a mentor too, right? And you know what I mean? Financial literacy, if you can find somebody, but offer something instead of just asking for something, offer something. Hey, I can do this for you. Can I be your assistant for nothing if I just can hang around for a bit and learn a little bit? And like that is a good way to learn, as opposed to, because I know a lot of people just ask instead of offer. And I think you have to offer value. That's I mean, the world is built around an exchange, a transaction, right?
That's true. Exchanging and transactions is how the world has continued to keep going.
And we're all salespeople. You sell yourself to your partner. You know what I mean? Like when you're trying to, first time to date, you're selling yourself, and we're all salespeople as well. So we try to sell ourselves, and right now, it's the best time to invest in yourself, I think, too, right? So.
Well, they've always said pay yourself first, and I don't think it means, give yourself money so you can go out and do, buy yourself a new dress or
Yeah.
a coat or jacket or suit. I think it means investing in yourself going forward so that you can be the best person you can be in our time. So,
Yeah.
people looking for work, I can't do any recommendations as to what their education should be, but AI is definitely top of mind right now for what's
Yeah.
happening in the world.
It's everything, really. I mean, it's going to affect so many things. So, I mean, I think if you need a skill, you figure out how to apply that into the place, because a lot of people are looking for that right now as well. So, and the other things that I would say is financial literacy is something that would be good for people to take on. And then one of the mindsets I try to teach my kids and people that I know around me is there's something that's been offered right now, and this is my only tip, and then maybe you can share a tip, and we'll close it off. But one of the tips I'd offer is instead of buying that $9 coffee, get yourself Wealth Simple, which is an app that was never around when I was a youngster, and it offers fractional trading, fractional shares, and zero commissions. So you can buy $9 worth of, pick a stock, I don't care if it's Microsoft or whatever it is you like. Spend the $9 on that fractional share, because you can buy $9 worth of Apple, $9 worth of Apple, and it'll teach you to trade, teach you about the finances of that company. You're going to learn a little bit instead of buying that coffee that's, the $9 sugar coffee that's no good for you anyway. Even if the stock goes down, you're still further ahead than what you did with that coffee.
That sounds like a good piece of advice, Jim. If I was to give people advice, doing the job I do and understanding what people don't know, their lack of financial literacy it's not across the board, but it's tracking where your money's going, because a lot of people aren't aware of where their money goes. They can't make changes until they know. So that would be my advice, is track where the money goes so you can make an educated decision as to what you want to do once you know that, because then you can make that change and maybe, like you said, buy a little piece of Microsoft or whatever other stock that you think has a value.
And I think, and I know if you're in this really bad spot and you got all this pressure, and sometimes if you're the head of the family, of the household, it's tough to come to reality with that, and it's a tough thing to deal with. But maybe give a call to like MNP or somebody else and just talk it through and maybe find a path, right? You know what I mean? Because I think lots of times the tougher part is dealing with it by yourself, and and sometimes people look for solutions in substance where that's just going to make it worse, right? So ask for help.
Ask for help. It's a big piece of our world, is that we're not always willing to ask for help.
Yeah.
And it's the hardest thing to do, to talk about money with people. But I talk with money every day, about money, about people's circumstances. And when they have a consultation, it's a confidential consultation. I'm not going to phone up their wife and go, guess what your husband told me. We don't work like that.
I have experience from my own family where people look for the solution in the bottom of a bottle, and that is only going to make things worse. So just ask for help. That's the best way to find your way out of a storm, right? If you call it a financial storm, because a lot of people maybe haven't even experienced a storm. Because we've had like 20 good years, really, where people have been living off. Not everybody, but I mean, it's been pretty good, and we are entering what's called like an economic winter, and you're not alone. I would say that to people.
Yeah, people, that's true. They're not alone, and their circumstances are unique to them, but other people are in similar situations. Reach out for help. We're here.
Again, we'll put the link in there too. And as usual, Janine, it's been great having you. And Jayan, I always say your name wrong. Janine, right? Janae. See, there I got it finally. Oh, wow. It's always great having you, and I'm sure we'll talk to you several more times. But especially at a time like this in British Columbia, definitely feeling the heat for a lot of people here, right? And then how being nice to each other too, right? That's the other thing. Trying to figure out, like, one of the things we talked about early on the show was maybe like shopping groups, right? Like, because if you can go to big box stores and you can get cheaper prices, and then maybe have 4 or 5 families get together and split it up. So, because a lot of people have storage issue too when they live in small places, right? So.
That's true. That's very true. Well, Jim, thank you so much for talking with me today. I've really enjoyed it, and thanks for having me on.
All right, and thank you for watching Now Media.
We don't just report the news, we live here too. We're your neighbors, bringing you stories that matter to all of us. No government funding, no outside influence. Kelowna Now, local, independent. News you can trust.